Alright guys, Zach Sharp here with another analytics tutorial. Today I'm going to be going over how to build out a sales dashboard using Microsoft Excel. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Now looking at this dashboard, we can quickly see that we've got 4 charts showing you the sales by month, sales by region, sales by employee, and sales by product. Right now, if we come over here to the right, we can see that we've got the 4 controls which control all of the charts dynamically. So if we select something, it will change all of the charts here. If we quickly look at all of the charts, what we can see down here at the sales by employee is that we are only showing sales for Michael. If I come over here to the salesperson selector here and choose, we'll say Dwight, we can now see that all the charts update. Our sales by employee is now showing sales for both Dwight and Michael. Our sales by product has gone up. Sales by region is only showing East. If I come over here to the region selector and choose South, we can now see that we've got both the East and the South. Our sales by month has also updated. If we come over here and let's say we only wanted to see one month, we would just deselect all the other months. So right now I am showing this only for January, and we can see that this is updated to only show January. Sales are almost 50-50 there between the two regions here being East and South. And again, sales by product, we've only got 2 products, and right now paper is the only one selected. So if I come up here and show staplers as well, we can now see that this breaks out and shows the 2 products. So this is the overall functionality of this dashboard. Before we get into building this, I just want to remind you to make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Instagram to get the latest updates regarding tips, tricks, and tutorials. So now looking at building out this sales dashboard, what we're going to do first, I've got you on the sales tab, which is showing you our underlying data. As you can see, we've got a column for the sales date, one for the region, one for product, with different customer types, each of the salespeople, the sales, which is actually the dollar amount, and the count of the products sold. So the first thing that we're going to do to turn this into this dashboard, let's come back over here to the sales data, come up here to the insert tab and select pivot table. Select OK. And now we can begin to create our pivot table. Now the first pivot table that we're going to want to create here is simply to show us our sales for each month. And we've got filters here for the salesperson and for the product. So we will come over here and I'll select sales date and drag that to the rows. I'll take sales and drag that over here to values. And what I'm going to do is click on any of these sales numbers, right click, select number, format, change that to currency. So now we're showing that as a dollar value. Again, clicking back into the pivot table to add in those extra filters. So we wanted to see a filter by salesperson and also wanted to see each of the different products sold. So now we can filter that by those 2. I'm actually going to change the overall order of that. And so now we've got sales by month. We're able to filter that by each of the different salespeople, and look at, oh, that's product sold. What I meant to pull in there was product. So now we can see, again, I want to change the order of that. So now we can see that by the 2 products, both paper and stapler. So now we've got our first pivot table. If we come over here to the pivot tables, we can see that we've got 4, which each correlate to the 4 charts on the dashboard. So coming back over here to our pivot tables, what I'm going to do to make the next ones is just select this entire pivot table. And again, I'm going to use the hotkeys here. I use a Mac, so what I'm going to select is Command C and then Command V. If you're on a Windows PC, it's going to be Control C, Control V to do the same thing. And the next thing that we want to do is make the second pivot table, which is going to give us our sales by region. And so to do this, what I'm going to do is click back over here. I'm going to pull products and salespeople out of filters. I'm going to pull that month from the rows and add that to the filters. I'm going to take sales date out of this entirely. I'm going to take region and drag that into the rows. And now we've got our sales by region. Simple as that. I'm going to move this up just a hair. It's just for spacing purposes. And now we're ready to make the next 2 pivot tables, which is now going to be the sales by salesperson. And we've got filters, as we can see, for month and for product. So again, coming here, selecting this entire pivot table, Command C, Command V. All I've got to do up here is drag region out of this, drag salesperson down to rows now. And again, we wanted to filter this by product as well. So locating the product, And now we can see this for each of the different months and each of the different products. We can see how how each of the different salespeople performed. And one last pivot table we've got is just looking at how the different products sold. And we've got a filter for region as well as a filter for month. So again, one last time here, Command C, Command V, and I'm going to get rid of salesperson. I'm going to pull product down here. And now we can see the product. We've got a filter for month, and I think we also need, correct me if I'm wrong, yep, filter for region. So we will come here, drag that down to the filters, and there we have it. Now we have all 4 of our pivot tables. The next step is going to be adding these turning these into charts, which is actually a very simple process. All we've got to do is select each of the pivot tables, again choosing the insert up here, and selecting the pivot chart option. Now what I want to do so that I can show this over time is right click on the chart, change chart type, and I'm going to select a line chart. And now I'm going to change this title and just make this sales by month. So now we're able to show the sales by month for this. I'm going to do the same thing down here, coming down here. Again, coming up here to this insert pane, pivot chart. If I remember correctly, we had this as a pie chart, so I will come back. Again, selecting the chart, right-clicking the chart, change chart type. I'm going to make this a pie chart. And I actually want the data labels to show here. So what I'm going to do is right-click on this chart, choose Add Data Labels. And now we can see, if we zoom in, the dollar value for each of the different regions is showing. I'm going to say sales by region. Our sales by region chart. I'm going to actually create a little more space, so pulling these last two pivot charts down. And as we can see, we've got the salesperson. If we click back over here to the dashboard, we see that the sales by employee is actually a bar chart. So when I come back over here, again, selecting that pivot table, insert, pivot chart. Perfect. Now we're able to show title, sales by employee. So now we've got the sales by employee graph. And last but certainly not least, sales by product. So again, one last time, coming up here to the insert, pivot chart. And now we're able to show our sales by product, clicking into the title box, double clicking to make sure that we've got the entire title selected. Sales by product. And now we have all of our charts. The next step is simply going to be moving these over and formatting them so that they look how we would like. So the next step here, I'm going to name this and just make this pivots so we don't get this confused with the previous pivot table. Add a sheet, name that dashboard. And the next thing to do here is to select this chart. And again, I'm going to use the hotkeys to cut this. So what I'm going to do is Command X, because I am on a Mac. Again, on a Windows PC, that's simply going to be Control X. Come over here to the dashboard, Command V, or Control V, depending on, again, your operating system. And I'm just going to bring each of these charts over. Got the pie chart to the right, sales by employee directly below. Then coming here, taking this pie chart, Command X, over here to the dashboard, Command V to paste that. Sales by employee. Again, coming over here, Command X, Command V. And one last time to get the sales by product, Command X, and over here, Command V. And now we have the bare bones of our overall dashboard. The next thing to do is add in our slicers, which allow us to filter and to do a little formatting. So to add in the slicers, what I'm going to do is select the chart, pivot table analyze, choose this insert slicer. And what this will allow us to do is add a different control for each of the different filters. So I'm going to choose one for each. So sales date, region, product, salesperson, product sold, month. I'm actually going to uncheck a few of these. Products sold, we don't want to see that. Make sure that we don't want to have too many options here. What we want to do is just have those 4. So now we can drill this down using these slicers. So pull these over just slightly, and there's always going to be a lot of different resizing here. Pulling these over. And now to make sure that each of these slicers controls all of the pivot tables, because if we come to this right now, if I select just scissor, we can see that it's only changing this sales by month because that was the one where I applied the slicer. But if I come to the slicer itself, right click on it, choose report connections, and I select all pivot tables from, again, that sheet pivots. This will allow it to control all of the pivot tables and in turn all of the charts. And so now, if I choose paper, we can see that all of these charts update. One important thing to note here is that you're going to want to check this box with that says multi-select. This will allow you to choose multiple options for the slicer. If you do not select that, it will only let you choose one option at a time. So if I come over here to region, multi-select is not selected. As you can see, it's not highlighted. So by default, if I come here and select north, it is only going to allow me to choose north. And if I come here and select south, it's only going to allow me to choose one. So what I want to make sure that I have selected is multi-select, which will allow me to choose multiple options. We'll go ahead and do that for each. And again, for each of these slicers, what you're going to want to do is right click, choose that report connections, and choose all of the pivot tables that you want it to control. This will allow it to control all of the pivot charts. So we're going to do this for each slicer. Again, you know which pivot tables it's controlling based on what sheet it's on. I put all the pivot tables on one sheet, being pivots, so that I know what exactly this is connected to and which pivots it's controlling. I don't want it to control the other pivots from the previous report that I used to show you in the beginning. Though all of those from the previous report that I used to show you in the beginning are in that sheet pivot table, so we don't want to select those. We'll want to select all of the pivots that are from that sheet pivots. Just making sure that we've got all of these selected. Excellent. And so now, whenever I change, we should see all of our charts update. Sales by region. We see West is not selected if I select West. And now we can drill down and we are able to filter your pivot charts however you'd like. The next steps are going to be to format this and clean this up slightly. All right, now that we've got the dashboard built out, the next things to do are get into formatting it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is come over here to this View tab and select this grid lines box, uncheck that. This is going to take away all the grid lines for this sheet, makes it look already a little bit cleaner. The next thing that I'm going to do is just select these first 3 rows, right click and choose insert, and this will add in 3 more rows. It's just going to push down all of our information, all of our charts here, as well as our slicers, give us a little bit more room. And you'll see why here in a second, because now what I'm going to do is take this cell and drag this over to about, pull this over to AA, come back over here to the Home tab and choose Merge and Center. And what that's going to do is take all of these cells and make them one giant cell. The reason for that is so that I can come in and put the title. So now I've got my title. I'm going to come in here and format that. So we're going to make that 48, make it bold, and I'll go ahead and put an underline. The next thing that I am going to do, I'm actually going to change this font to red, and you'll see why here shortly. Make that red. The next thing that I'm going to do is select the entire sheet. So there are a few ways to do this. Again, I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to use Command A as the hotkey. If you're on a Windows PC, feel free to use Control A, or if you're new to Excel, the quickest way to do that is to just click here in this top left-hand corner, and it will select all of the cells for you. I'm then going to come up here and choose a black square, and that's going to make my entire background black. Now I'm going to click back into the title and change the font and make that white now so that it stands out a little bit more. I'm also going to center that up. And if we come over here and look at the original dashboard, we can see it already looks pretty similar. A few other changes to make. So we'll come over here to the dashboard. Again, I'll click in here and change this background color to, I want this blue to match the blue that's in our selectors over here. So I think we're close. Maybe a little bit lighter now. Keep it there. Coming back over here to that dashboard, again changing the font to black so that it stands out and it pops. The next thing to do is to adjust all of these charts. Now what I'm going to do is simply drag each of these, make them a little bit bigger so that our audience is able to view these from a distance. I want everything to line up. Put this down a little. I'm going to click into each of these titles, and I'm going to make them bold. Size, make that 18 perfect. Do the same thing for each of these titles. So again, bolding that, changing the size to 18. This is just so that it's a little more visually appealing, and our audience can see this better from a distance. They don't have to zoom into this. Again, you want to tailor all of your dashboards to your audience, and that will be different for each visualization that you create. Sometimes you're going to be doing this for your coworkers. Other times you're going to be doing this for sellers. Different clients want different things. It all depends on your audience. So you should make sure that when you're building this out, you keep your audience in mind, thinking about what is the best way to show them this information. And what we can see is that when I am increasing the size of each of these titles, it's actually shrinking the chart. So again, going to be doing a little manipulative work there, but it's all in the process of building out your dashboard. So I will actually pull this down just slightly to make a little more room for the overall chart. Pull this over. The chart area a little, and do the same down here. Pull this up just a bit, give it a little more space. Ooh. And I want these top charts and these bottom charts to line up as close as possible. Should be good. The next things that I'm going to do is change the overall format and design of each of these charts. I'd like them to look a little more like these, a little more futuristic, and draw your eye to them so that they're not as bland with these simple white backgrounds. So I'm going to select each chart, come over here to design, and Microsoft Excel actually provides you some pretty nice templates. So I am going to choose the one with the black background. I like that a lot. I think it goes well with the overall black background for the sheet. Click over and find that black background, perfect. Do the same thing for each of the other charts. I think we can make this a little bit wider. And lastly, do this for the sales by product chart as well. So we've already got that selected, perfect. Over here and choose that. And so now we've got almost an exact match. The only things that I'm going to change are these slicers here. I'm going to change the size so there's not a ton of white space showing. Pull those up just slightly. Again, wanting to eliminate as much white space as possible here so that it's visually appealing. And what I'll do is come here to this month slicer, because that is the largest of all of them. Shorten that up just ever so slightly. Pull this region up. I want this to be as much in an overall rectangular shape as possible. And lastly, what I'm going to do is update each of these slicer names. So coming down here to slicer setting, you can see that it says salesperson. It's got the name from the actual data. I want to change that. So what I'm going to do is just backspace, get rid of the underscore, just make that a space. Have that read salesperson, perfect. Same thing for region. Again, slicer settings. Just coming down here to region, capitalizing the R, and one last time for product. Coming down here to slicer setting, taking the P, product, capitalizing that. And now we have our overall sales dashboard built out in Microsoft Excel. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Instagram to get the latest updates regarding tips, tricks, and tutorials for Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, and Google Data Studio. Hope to see you in the next video.